For Telesur, I'm Cody Weddle in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin today in Mexico, where relatives of the 43 missing students met with President Enrique Peña Nieto Wednesday. The students have been missing for the past month. After meeting with Peña Nieto for more than 6 hours behind closed doors, family members of the abducted students accused the Mexican president of lying and mismanaging the situation. Many parents have expressed their distrust in Mexican authorities, many of whom have been tied to drug gangs.
Como padres de familia no confiamos en el trabajo que está realizando el Estado mexicano.
As parents, we don't trust the Mexican government. The students disappeared over 30 days ago. They haven't found them and haven't told us anything that could make us think that they are getting closer to finding them.
Ni mucho menos nos dicen algo que nos venga a alentar el pensar que ya están cerca del objetivo.
And on a similar theme, we turn to the United States, where human rights activists are criticizing Washington for funding Latin American security forces. According to a report released by the Center for International Policy's Americans Programs, the U.S. has spent around $3 billion on the war on drugs in Mexico since 2000. In that time, 100,000 people were killed by cartels, police, and the military. The report points out that U.S. funding has provided resources for Mexican security forces, which have committed crimes against their own citizens.
The problem is the lack of accountability. What's happened with all that money that was invested in the police at the federal level, at the state level, at the municipal level? After the training, after the substantial investment in these security forces, who is making sure that there will be accountability, that their work is lawful, within a framework that respects human rights?
Staying with the theme of human rights, we go to Peru. Under the U.S.-backed regime of Alberto Fujimori, numerous indigenous women faced forced sterilizations. Our correspondent Rael Mora sat down with one of the women who the government sterilized. She now says Peru's president should live up to his campaign promise of justice.
Victoria Vigo is one of the estimated 300,000 Peruvians who were forcefully sterilized during the dictatorship of Fujimori in the 1990s. Right after a miscarriage in 1996, doctors secretly mutilated her reproductive organs to comply with sterilization quota ordered by the regime.
When one loses a child, a longing to have another child stays. I did not understand when animals adopted other animals because it is an innate, natural instinct of humans, of all living beings. When you lose something, you immediately want it. I wanted to have a child, but friends, and also friends who are doctors, talked with me and told me, "No, Victoria, it is irreversible."
Researcher Alejandra Bayón, who studied these cases, calls them the gravest violations committed against indigenous women since the colonial times. She believes the cases amount to genocide, and far from enough attention is being paid to them.
The problem is the lack of accountability. What's happened with all that money that was invested in the police at the federal level, at the state level, at the municipal level? After the training, after the substantial investment in these security forces, who is making sure that there will be accountability, that their work is lawful, within a framework that respects human rights?
Una futura posibilidad de que esto se pueda volver a repetir.
Bayón also argues that current President Ollanta Humala owns a political debt to these women because he was partly able to win the election by promising in-depth investigations into the matter and justice. Reporting from Lima, Peru for Telesur, Rael Mora.
And thanks to Rael, we go to Bolivia now, where the nation's electoral authorities confirmed Wednesday the victory of President Evo Morales. Morales won over 60% of the vote in October 5th's presidential contest. Morales attributed his win to his country's recent economic progress.
I believe that the results of the elections are because of our economic stability and growth. We have a long-term planning process. I have said to our Bolivian brothers and sisters, which we haven't proposed yet, that Bolivia will be the energy center of South America.
And we go now to Cuba, where the ALBA Regional Alliance spearheaded a meeting addressing the international Ebola crisis. Delegates from 32 countries attended Wednesday's meeting, which focused on organizing a regional strategy to prevent and control the spread of the virus. A representative from the United States attended the meeting. That comes just one day after Washington voted at the United Nations against ending its blockade against Cuba. Cuba has taken a leadership role in combating the Ebola virus, which has killed some 5,000 people in Africa. And in other Ebola news, a nurse who recently returned to the United States from treating patients in West Africa vows to fight Maine officials seeking a court order to force her into a home quarantine. Casey Hickox is healthy and shows no symptoms of Ebola. The Doctors Without Borders group has sided with the nurse and says that her quarantine is not based upon established medical science. They add that quarantining people assisting in the fight against the virus will only undermine efforts to curb the epidemic.
Even though I am completely healthy and symptom-free.
In Ukraine, Prime Minister Arseniy Yatsenyuk says that his country will pay off its debts to Russia immediately. The declaration comes following the signing of a new natural gas deal with Moscow. Russia is also demanding prepayment for fuel before it is willing to provide gas to Ukraine this winter. Officials from Ukraine, Russia, and the EU are currently engaged in talks searching for a resolution to the impasse. Russia provides half of Ukraine's gas and a third of the EU's supply, much of which is pumped through Ukraine. And we go now to Palestine, where conflict continues to surface around the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Our correspondent Noor Harazin continues to follow the latest.
Tension is rising in the towns and cities of the West Bank after an Israeli settler was killed. The Israeli forces killed this morning a Palestinian man. They said that he was a suspect of the killing of this settler. Shortly after that, clashes started in several towns and cities around the West Bank, especially in the area of the occupied city of Jerusalem. At the same time, the Israeli government said that they will be closing Al-Aqsa compound, Al-Aqsa holy site, and this is the first time in decades since 1967 that the Israeli side closed this holy site in the faces of Muslim Palestinian worshippers.
Thanks to Noor, we go to Kansas City, where the San Francisco Giants were crowned Major League Baseball's new champions Wednesday night. The Giants won the World Series after outperforming the Kansas City Royals in a grueling 7-game set. It is the third time that the Giants have won baseball's biggest prize in the past 5 years. Giants pitcher Madison Bumgarner was awarded the MVP of the series. It comes after a historic postseason in which the left-hander shut down San Francisco on 3 different occasions. Plenty more on those stories and plenty others at our website, telesurtv.net/English. For Telesur English, I'm Cody Weddle.